Yep, that's right. The cops came back to the farm, and this is why, guys. Come along today as we talk to you about throwing trash and dumping in a waterway in North Carolina. Really? Stoney Ridge. Farm, Stoney Ridge. Stoney Ridge Farm. There you go. Something in the pond. Right there. Something. Well, folks, welcome back to the Stoney Ridge Farm channel. It's not what you think. Guys, okay, four-wheeler, you can do it. If you don't know, we recently had a bit of a run-in with the law here on the Stoney Ridge Farm. And that run-in was from code enforcement being called on me. Well, just so happens I had to call code enforcement. And the reason I had to call code enforcement is because I was up in the pasture feeding the cows and discovered this ridiculous thing. That is a, guess what it is? You will never guess. Post it down there. Guess what it is before I take you and show you. This is a bathtub, and it is floating in my pond right now. Someone pulled off the road here and illegally dumped a bunch of remodeling debris off the side of the road and into a waterway, into my 2-acre pond right here. Check it out, guys. Tell me what you think about this. This is North Carolina's finest. I don't understand why this kind of thing has to happen, but right there is the bathtub. And it's gross. It's absolutely disgusting. Looks like it's been refinished a couple times, maybe painted, and I got to get it out of the pond. So I called code enforcement about this, and we'll talk about that, and then we'll show you fishing this thing out of the pond. I got to actually go get the Warlock dump truck. So let's run over there. We'll get the dump truck, and we'll load up all this stuff. There's a bunch of trash, debris, and mostly beer bottles and beer cans all over the road littered up here. I don't know what else to say other than there's a lot of people riding around throwing beer bottles out. Is there a lot of people riding around drinking beer? I don't know. Let's go get the Warlock dump truck and we'll fish this thing out and show you what it is. It's not cool. Oh, we're gonna shift a little rough today, aren't we? Welcome to the Stoney Ridge Farm channel. This is your first time here, 50 millionth time. Please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. This is the Warlock dump truck. This is an old Home Depot dump truck that has proven itself to be indispensable. It's 2-wheel drive though, which is not the best. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna hop in here. We're just gonna drive down and load up all that debris. Contact. Yeah, there we go. Whew. It's a little warm in here. I can't believe it's December. It's like 65 degrees out. Roll up manual windows. Yeah, baby. So we'll let the Warlock dump truck warm up for a second. I gotta grab something to get a hold of that stinking bathtub with, and I think I've got it right here. Just an old school extendable paint stick. I think I can get a hold of it. Still got the attachment on here. We'll take this and see if we can fish that bathtub out of the water. I don't know how it's floating. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have any drains in it, but it's still floating. I don't know. Stay tuned. We'll see. It is hot in here. Trying not to run over my new concrete right there and not hit the metal, and I got some cleanup to do. Some tire rub there. There we go, and not hit the 4-wheeler. Where is the 4-wheeler? There it is. Good gracious. So guys, this is not a common situation. If you tuned into last week's video, what happened was I went over to my county building to get a permit for my septic tank for the building we were just at. I got the permit paid for. They came and tested the land. It perked good, so I can get a septic system in there. I understand the permitting process, and I have no problem with that whatsoever. What I do have a problem with is that last week, I had code enforcement called on me. And when code enforcement was called on me, they were called in to investigate whether I had an electrical permit for this farm building up here. And of course I had an electrical permit, and a little bit of internal communication would have put that fire out and saved some tax dollars, in my humble opinion. So you guys tell me. If you haven't seen that video, there'll be a link at the end of this video, so stay tuned. It's gonna be pretty quick. Hopefully it doesn't take me too long to get this bathtub out of my pond. And guys, I've had everything from bathtubs to cars in this pond. This pond's up next to the roadway, and that inevitably makes a litter problem. People chuck bottles out the window of their vehicle and try to hit the pond. That's just their goal. So throughout the year, I have to go behind these sorry people who are throwing out bottles into the pond. Bottles, trash, I don't care, engine blocks, car parts, all sorts of stuff. They drive by and they just throw it out here. I'm thinking about just putting a dumpster up here so that people can just put their crap in the dumpster instead of making me go through this. So let's go on out here. We're gonna cut in and go out into the cow pasture. Here we go. Hopefully we don't get stuck. It's a little bit wet. We got 2 inches of rain yesterday. Little steep. That's always a good time. It's disappointing that I'd have to do this. Let's go on up here and I'll show you. Now, when I called code enforcement, because this is a code enforcement violation. So you call in to your local county if somebody dumps on your property, and they send out inevitably a sheriff's deputy. The sheriff's deputy that they sent out to me is a code enforcement officer. He's an absolute gentleman. He's a very, very nice person to deal with. I've dealt with him before, and I dealt with him the other week when I was getting investigated, which is really, really silly. Let's go over here and we'll show you exactly what got dumped out. So let's just give you some examples of what we've got here. I've got to come back and clean all this up. The Marvels. So this is a McDonald's, yep, McDonald's toy. It came with a Happy Meal. Bud Light. I don't know who's drinking Bud Light around here. Oh, facial cleanser towel. Ooh, a receipt. Receipt from McDonald's, valued customer. Thank you, McDonald's. Monster Energy, Bud Platinum. And this is the rest of the debris that was left for me. And there's a liquor bottle right down there also. So part of a shower insert, part of a shower insert. This is part of a shower insert, evidently a couple layers. Yep. And we got to get down in here and fish this dude out. So, to whomever decided it was appropriate to throw out their McDonald's here, I give you the one-fingered salute. I don't know what else to say. I've got to come back up here with a garbage bag and pick up all the trash. You would think, now I let these trees grow on purpose to hold the bank down and to keep debris from getting slung out into the pond. You would think that people would have enough class to not do that, and especially in a waterway. Here's the target. You see this? This was hit the other day by a flying piece of debris, a bottle or a can or something that people like to throw out on the street. Here is a perfect place to stop your truck and unload it. And they unloaded it, and it slid right down into the pond right here. And this is where the pipe that goes through the road and into my pond sits. So I got to get down here, fish this guy out. Pain in the butt, not something cool. This is being investigated. So anyone with a remodeling permit, yeah, right, I'm sure they have a remodeling permit to do this. But anybody with a remodeling permit locally, if I fall in the water, you can laugh, is going to be investigated. I think it's important that they do get investigated because this is absolutely unacceptable, and there's nothing other than this had to be dumped. It didn't blow out of the back of a truck. It had to be dumped. Now this stuff is flimsy. It's really lightweight. Now I could see that blowing out of the back of the truck, but I can't see it all going right down into there, and a bathtub being dropped down into here and out there floating in the pond. So let me fish this guy out real quick. I think we better make use of our tool for that one. It doesn't look like something I can get out. The bathtub's gonna be the biggest challenge. I don't know how it's still floating. It doesn't make any sense. You know what? I need further investigation. Was this paid for with cash? Cash. $20 bill. Never mind. We can find a receipt on the side of the road that has anything that's identifiable. We can turn that in and they will be fined for this problem. What do you think about that? If they threw it out, they're littering and they should be punished for it. I get this all the time, guys. It's horrible. Oh, baby, come on. Just get it up here where I can get a hold of it. And not out in the pond anymore. Bonsai! The more I look at this, the more I see that this came from potentially a mobile home, okay? Very, very potentially. This is really, really flimsy stuff, guys. It's a shower liner that typically would be used to fix something nasty and rotten. It's a cheap way to fix your shower. And evidently, this person's upgrading, right? So I've got the two corner pieces. These are the two side pieces. Awesome, let's chuck them in the dump truck. So let's talk about litter control for just a second. Back in the day, in the olden days, the days of rehabilitation in the correctional institutes here in our country, we used to have road crews that would go out, and let me know, guys, if your county does that. We used to have inmates with road crews that would go out and take care of this kind of stuff and clean up the roadways. What did that do? That did two things. That took the families of those road crew people and made them stop littering, because nothing's worse than being an inmate out here picking up litter and having other people around you throwing litter out. You will scold somebody. So we used to do that, and I think that was a productive way to rehabilitate inmates and also beautify the county or state that you live in. We used to do that here, but we don't do it here. Let me know if you guys do that in your neck of the woods. All right, here's the bathtub. We're gonna fish her out. So the bathtub is busted. I can see that. It's not gonna be a big deal to get it because it's free floating. Oh, don't let me fall in the pond. No floating in the pond. This bathtub weighs 10 pounds. Holy cow, that is a bathtub. That is clearly a mobile home bathtub. Here's why it floats. In the bottom of it is styrofoam. Clearly a mobile home bathtub. This is gross, and I probably should have gloves on. Let's get this thing and chuck it in the back of the dump truck and get it up to the dumpster. What a nasty mess. Thought that was gonna be much, much tougher than it was. The reason the bathtub floated, I'll show you once again. It has a styrofoam piece inside the bathtub, on the bottom of the bathtub. That's it. That's why it floated. Hole poached in there, and the drain was gone, but it couldn't fill up with water because of this styrofoam. Kind of interesting, isn't it? Well, guys, that's why the cops had to show up again here on the Stoney Ridge Farm. I'll keep you updated if we figure out who dumped this. Is it a disgruntled fan? Is it just somebody who likes throwing their trash out? Too lazy to go to the dump? I've got a dumpster up here. I wish somebody like that would just call me. They could just use my dumpster in order to keep me from having to go fish this kind of stuff out of the pond. I am constantly dealing with folks throwing trash into the pond. There's glass all over the place right here, which poses a hazard to the cows. There are a couple of rocks right here, and people try to chuck bottles from the road and hit the rocks. A couple years back, a car ran off the road right here and landed in my pond. Since then, the county came and put the guardrail up, and no more cars have ended up in the pond. This is the first time I've had somebody actually stop and dump something in there. Tell me what you think, guys. Does your local county have an inmate system where they come and they clean up? Do you have litter problems like this? And tell me where you're from. Please share that with me, guys. We'll see you next time on the Stoney Ridge Farm. I just thought this would be a little something interesting to let you guys know. When you live in the country, this is the kind of stuff that you deal with from day to day. You live in the city, you would expect it. But you live out here in the beautiful country on a beautiful farm, and you wouldn't expect that of country people. This is the life that I'm living. We'll take you guys along. Thanks a lot. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Love to have you back here on the farm with me on the Stoney Ridge. Woo!
Well, come on down to the Stoney Ridge. Bring your wife and bring your kids. We're living life pure and sweet. That's the way it's supposed to be, Stoney Ridge.
Ding, 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 ding. Breathe. I should breathe like a horse. Horse. A horse is a breathing horse, of course, and that's the way Josh does a horse, of course.